Hi, it's Diane from Spencerog Sewing Patterns, here to share with you my new series of Funtastic Felt Projects. So a few members on my Facebook group asked me why I hadn't tried felt before, and they were making some fantastic bags in it, so I thought maybe I am missing a trick. So I ordered a bunch in and I started playing with it, and wow, is this stuff marvellous. I couldn't stop, and hence so many tutorials. So I've designed a collection of quick gifts for you to make as an introduction to felt. I think you may just get as hooked as I am now. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll be sharing a series of video tutorials with these 7 free felt projects. They're all super quick to make, so they're ideal for sew to sell or gifting. And remember, Christmas is fast approaching, folks. They're ideal as an individual gift, or you can make a few in the same colour as gorgeous sets, either for the home or to pop into your bag. All the information you need is in the video tutorials, but if you'd like written instructions, plus these extra 3 bonus projects of a tulle roll, a landscape tote and a portrait tote, then I have a PDF ebook available on my website that you can purchase for less than the price of most magazines, and with all 10 projects included. I'll add a link in the text below, or just hop to the website at www.spencerog.com. The extra 3 projects each have written instructions and video tutorials too. Okay, so we're going to be making 3 items in today's free tutorial, but before we start, let's talk briefly about felt. So felt, what is it? Well, felt is a fabric that is made using matting, pressure or heat, so layers of fibres are all pressed together rather than weaving, and it's been around for hundreds of years. Most felts don't have a right or wrong side, and it's surprisingly strong. It's brilliant for quick projects as it doesn't fray, so you can leave the edges unfinished. So you can just use it as a single layer. There's no lining or interfacing necessary, and it's nice and squishily bulky, so it has its own rigidity, and it's particularly great for protecting devices and gadgets from knocks and scratches. And it's easy to sew too. It's just amazing for creating firm shapes without the need for interfacings or concealing raw edges, so everything can be done in a single quick operation. So the different types of felt that are available. So we're not using the acrylic craft felt you find in sheets in your local hobby shop here. They're a thinner, weaker product. In these types of projects, we're using 2, 3, 4 or even 5mm thickness felt, and I use 3mm felt for all of the projects I'm demonstrating. All the thicknesses work fine, but I found the 5mm was a little too thick and bulky for my domestic machine, and it was rather to do with the height of my presser foot than the ability to stitch it. But in essence, the bigger the item, the thicker the felt suitable, because as it gets thicker, it becomes more rigid. 100% wool is the best quality felt, and then you have blends of wool with synthetic fibres, and then you have 100% synthetic. So I'm working with this 3mm 100% polyester felt for all the projects I'm demonstrating. The 100% wool versions are absolutely beautiful, but they're very pricey, so I thought I'd stick with the affordable versions as I was making so many items. Maybe I'll use wool for extra special gifts for loved ones at Christmas. I'll add some sources in the links below if you scroll down under the video. And I'm sure there'll be lots of links on the Facebook group too. These fantastic felt projects will also work for any other non-frame fabrics like leather, cork or Craftex if you don't have any felt on hand. Also have a look at my Bag Buddies projects on YouTube too, because those will work well in felt. So I'll add a link for those in below too. The projects are great for embellishing with leather scraps, appliques, even gluing shapes on, and felt holds embroidery like a dream. I have a few tips for you for working with felt. Number 1 is cutting out. So use a rotary cutter if possible, so you can get a good clean straight line. If you're curving corners and you need scissors, then use sharp small scissors and keep them at right angles to the felt to avoid getting an angled cut on this thick fabric. We don't want it a diagonal cut. Felt is ideal for computerised cutting machines with a deep blade, as it gives you a precise cut with sharp edges. All the projects I'm showing you in my tutorials are cut by hand though, so there's no issues if you don't have a computerised cutting machine. So onto thread. Use a cotton thread for wool felt and polyester thread for polyester and other synthetic felts. I'm using Gutterman Sew-All 100% polyester thread for strength, but you could use a thicker top stitch thread in a contrast colour to make more of a feature of the stitches. What needle size? Well, it's pretty forgiving. I found that an 80-12 needle worked fine, or a microtex needle. We don't want to use too thick a needle as it can leave visible holes in the fabric. Stitch length? Well, for me, a medium stitch length worked best. I've got my machine set at 2.8, but try a test piece on your own machine first, as it'll depend on the density of the fibres in the particular felt you have. Which machine foot to use? Well, I used a walking foot with normal pressure, but I also tried out a regular foot with no problems at all. Felt is quite easy to stitch through. It's bulky, but there's no real resistance to the needle. You can use a bulky seam aid or a hump jumper to help if you're increasing the layers to more than 2. I do have video tutorials on using a hump jumper and sewing curves that you might find useful, and I'll link those in below too. So anything to watch out for with felt? Well, I'd say stick with a minimum number of layers. 2 if you can, 3 as a maximum with a domestic machine. Don't pull the felt as you sew it, or cut it, or unpick it, as you can distort it a little bit. Press if you want to, but check the composition of your felt and use a pressing cloth. Keep the pressing time to a minimum, as you don't want to flatten and compress the fibres. So finally, onto the projects. In this first episode, I'll show you how to use a simple fold-over shape that can work for many uses. I'll demonstrate a card case, great for carrying a few cards or giving as a gift card holder. A glasses case, which you can decorate to your heart's content and adapt easily for larger glasses. And then a pencil sleeve to add to your favourite notebook. In the second episode, we'll move on to multi-piece constructions, great for cases and covers. I'll show you how to make an e-reader or iPad case, and then a more substantial laptop sleeve. In the third episode, we will make storage trays and useful storage boxes with carry handles or a front grab handle. There are 3 further projects with videos: a tool roll, a landscape tote with a pocket and felt handles, and a portrait tote with a pocket and rivet or stitch on handles. These 3 projects, along with written instructions for the other 7, are available now in my new ebook, Funtastic Felt Projects, and it's on the website now. You can get all 10 projects with written instructions and videos for each, and hours of fun. I'll add a link in the text below. Phew! Right, on with the first 3 projects. Let's go sew. So I'm going to demonstrate how we can make a simple fold-over felt shape work for many different uses. Start with a small one. So let's make a quick credit card case in 3mm felt. I've cut a rectangle 5¼ inches across by 4 inches high. I've curved the corners a little bit. I've just used a small coin to make those curves, drawn them on and then cut them. Decorate it as required. We're going to be folding it in half across the width, so you can decorate the front or the back or anything you like. I've just used a heat transfer of my initials there. But you can use a badge, an embroidery and a plique, but you don't need to add anything at all. They're fine just with nothing on too. There's a sample with nothing on. And they're very cute anyway. So this one's really simple. We're literally going to fold it in half and clip it in place. So I'm folding it across the longer direction, across the width. So you'll still end up with it being 4 inches high. So you can have either side as the front. We're going to cut off the corner just so you can get your fingers in. So if you're right-handed, you might want the right corner cut off. If you're left-handed, you might want to flip it and have the left corner cut off. So it's not the folded side we're going to be cutting, it's the open side. So we're going to mark that 1 inch down on the open side, not the folded side. Grab my chalk. literally going to make a snip. I'm going to snip off that corner from the folded edge to that 1 inch mark. I'm going to shape that a little bit, you don't need to, but any little flourish is nice. So there we go. Literally just cut that off. And it's for no other reason but to help you pull your cards out with your fingers. So it could be a tiny snip, could be right to the fold, but that's it. So how easy is that so far? Now I'm going to stitch along side and bottom, and that's it. So I'm going to stitch really close to the edge, 3mm or 1/8 of an inch. To help me do that, I usually have a blind hemming foot on my machine. I'm sure you've all got one with your machines, they normally come with them. And if you move your needle slightly to the left when that's on, that'll give you a nice even distance from the edge of your fabric, and it keeps it at a nice equal distance all the way. So I'm just going to sew around there. Do a quick back tack at beginning and end just to make sure it's nice and secure. Trim up. And there you have your finished case in minutes. Just slip in a few credit cards, it'll hold quite a few this. I've got 3 there, but it'll hold more. So let's make an easy glasses case in 3mm felt. Cut a rectangle 6 inches across by 6 3/4 inches tall in 3mm felt again. Check that your old glasses fit that at first, of course. You can just wrap a tape measure around them to make sure, but that's a standard size for eyeglasses. But it's easy to add a little bit on the width, it won't change anything. So again, I've curved the corners, just put a penny on there and drawn a line on and curved it round, and I've added a heat transfer. We're just going to fold it over like that, so I've added it centrally to what I am going to make into the front. But you can add badges, embroideries, just the same as on the credit card case. You can even add appliques or your own logo tag. Lots of things you can add to it. So again, we're literally just going to fold it over across the width. So you've still got your height of 6 3/4 inches. It's the width we're turning over. I'm going to clip it in place. And again, I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to clip the corner off. I'm going to make it a little bit longer this time because my case is a bit longer, so it can stand a little more. So I'm going to make that mark at 1.5 inches down. Oh look, that's somebody switching their lawnmower on. That's handy. Okay, now grab my scissors and I'm literally going to cut across from my folded edge down to that mark. Just keep it nice and tidy. Take a snip off that if you want to curve it a little bit. There we are, just that edge. And as I said before, if you prefer to take it out with your left hand, just flip it over and take the snip from the other side. But it's pretty universal. And again, I'm going to stitch close to the edge, 3mm or 1/8 inch from the edge, along the bottom and up the side. We trim it up. There we go. Beautiful glasses case, slip in your glasses. and they make really nice gifts. Very quick. So now we're going to make a pen or pencil sleeve to add to any book. So it's the same method again, we're just adding in an extra operation. So a length of elastic, it can be any width of elastic, it really doesn't matter, anything you have hanging around. Length we need just enough to cover whatever book that you're going to be adding it to. So just a spare bit of elastic you've got hanging around. So I've cut my rectangle 6.5 inches high by 4 inches wide. I've curved the corners again. I've decorated it with a heat transfer logo, but again, you can decorate it with anything. That'd look really nice with an embroidery running up the centre, I think. Or a logo badge, anything. I'm just going to fold that in half, but I'm not clipping it yet because I want to find the centre back. So turn it over and mark the centre back just with a bit of chalk. I'm going to grab a pin and I'm going to grab my piece of elastic. Open that up again. So my badge is on the front, that's my centre back mark at the top. I'm going to take my elastic, I'm going to fold it over just so I can conceal that raw edge. So just 1/2 inch folded over, and then I'm going to pin it to the top here. I'm going to stitch it on, but I'll just pin it so you can see closer. You can see I've literally concealed the raw edge under the elastic underneath, and I've just pinned it to the top there. Doesn't matter how far down it goes, it's just enough so you can attach it. So I've probably got 3/4 inch there. So I'm just going to stitch a little box shape to secure it. There we go, trim it up. Where's that thread? There it is. Can't get that one. Slippery little sucker. There it is. Okay, now we're going to fold it in half and clip it. So we're folding it in half across the width. And then I'm going to grab the notebook that I'm going to be using this with, just so I can check the length of my elastic. So I've just cut it to a rough length to start. So grab your book, place it on there, wrap your elastic round, just to get an idea of the length you need. Just have it so it's tight enough to hold it on and easy, but easy enough to get onto your book. So I've already chopped that to a good length, so that's ready to just slip into the bottom edge now. So just pull that around the back, make sure there's no twists in it, and insert it into the bottom edge, just 3/4 inch, again it doesn't matter, just so it's enough to hold it in place. So there we are, you can see it there. So just before we stitch it, we're going to snip off that corner again. It just gives access to our fingers. So I'm going to do 1.5 inches down again, but it could be anything of your choosing. Marked it, and then snip that. Okay, and then we're ready to stitch that. Same again, down the side, along the bottom, close to the edge, 3mm or 1/8 inch. Make sure you catch that elastic in at the bottom. Still got thread ends up there. They drive me mad, these. That's because I stitched onto the elastic. It's my own fault. There we are, there's our pen sleeve. So we're ready to put that onto our book. So I managed to find a nice matching notebook cover, a couple of pens, and again makes a lovely gift. So you can see how this simple fold over felt shape works. It's really versatile. So you can amend the size to make it work for anything that you need a cover for. So I hope you enjoyed these first 3 projects and it's given you a real taste for felt. In the next episode we'll be making the iPad and e-reader cover and the laptop sleeve. But if you want to get hold of all the projects straight away, along with these extra 3 bonus projects, the ebook with videos is available on my website now at www.spencerog.com, or just scroll down to find the link. Do subscribe to the channel to be notified when the next episode goes live, along with lots of free bag making tutorials. And don't forget to join my Facebook sewing group to show your pictures of all your creations. So what are you waiting for? Go sew!